Hello, my name is Joshua Clark, and I am the Director of Student Recruitment and Admissions at TASIS, the American School in England. I'm going to share my screen now and tell you a little bit about TASIS England. The topic I'd like to share with you is first, how can your school help you with university placement? And I'll be talking to you about it from the perspective of TASIS England. And actually, before I begin this presentation, I should probably give you a little overview of TASIS England to begin with. So I'm actually going to move over to this presentation first. So TASIS England is located just on the edge of London. We are about 15 minutes by car from Heathrow International Airport, 20 minutes by car from Windsor Castle. And if you're to take the train from our campus, or the station nearest our campus, into central London, it would take you to Waterloo Station. And depending on if you're on an express train or not, it would take anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes. And Waterloo Station is about 2 blocks from the London Eye here, and then just another block or so, and then you can cross the bridge, and you're right there at Parliament and Big Ben, and Westminster Abbey is just around the corner. So in less than an hour, you are right there in the heart of London. Our campus here you can see as we fly over the pond, you can see some of our boarding houses. This building on the left is one of our boarding houses. And then this long building here, the top 2 floors are boarding. And then the bottom floor would be some offices, classrooms. Here's part of the dining hall here. I'm going to forward it just a little bit since we're seeing the same area. And as it turns around, you can now see some more boarding houses here on the left. And then behind, some playing fields behind the pond, and then there'll be more more boarding houses on the right-hand side. Now we're looking at our academic buildings. We have our science building here on the right, language building there in the middle. Behind it would be our English and history classes, and art would be next to those, and then our mathematics would be over here. So students are really walking in between buildings to go to their different classes during the day. Finally, if we work our way forward to the other side of campus, we have some more playing fields. And as it turns around, you'll see our tennis center or tennis courts. This long building here would be our gymnasiums. We have 2 gymnasiums. This part here, this sticks out, would be our student theater. Next to that would be our student art gallery. And then this long building here would be our middle school. And then right behind that, I'm going to pause here. Right behind that building there is our lower school. I'm going to pause here for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to mention that we actually start boarding in grade 8, which would be about age 13. And we also wanted to show you kind of our surrounding area. So here you can see it's more of a residential area, very open, lots of trees, open space. So a student on the weekend could be in the middle of London and experiencing all that London has to offer. And then once again, in less than an hour, they could be in this beautiful campus in this beautiful location. Our total school, because we start at age 3 years old, total school is 650 students, but I'm going to talk just a little bit about our upper school, which would be grades 9 through 12. In there, we're about 420 students. About 230 boarders, and then we'd have next year at least, and then we would have about 190 day students next year. Our average classroom size is between 10 to 12 students. And at TASIS England, we offer 2 different diplomas. We are an American school, and so we follow the American curriculum, and that's what the students would be studying if they come to our school, would be the American curriculum. When they get into high school, that then means that they have the ability to take advanced placement or AP courses. And AP courses would allow them to, when they apply for universities, especially in the United States, if they've scored high enough on their exams in the AP, they would then be able to receive credit for that work. So some of our students are able to get up to a year's worth of their university done before they finish high school. So that's one diploma, is the American High School Diploma, and they have the option of taking AP courses. The other diploma would be at the end of grade 10, moving into grade 11, they could then go into our International Baccalaureate Diploma program, or the IB. So the IB is a 2-year program, grades 11 and 12, and the students would then be able to take 6 courses for 2 years, so they're studying their subject matter in depth all the way through, and then at the end they would have their International Baccalaureate Diploma. So it's a great opportunity for students who are unsure which one they might want. They could come to us in grade 9 or 10 and get a feel of the curriculum, but also talk with our teachers who are teaching both diplomas, and they would be able to help the student get a better feel for what would be the best fit for them. And then going into grade 11, they could make their right choice. So that's a quick overview. So I'm now going to switch over to our presentation on how to help with university counseling. Really, for most families, the purpose of coming to a boarding school or studying abroad is to get that international experience, but also to make sure that you're having a strong enough academic program that is going to help you as you then apply for universities in the future, whether you intend to come home to your home country or go off to study in the United States or study in the UK, in Canada, in Europe, or elsewhere. So really one of your priorities is really going to be studying and making sure that you have the ability to have strong academics at the school you're going to go to. So part of that is looking at the school and how rigorous are their academics, what level of courses can they offer, can they provide more advanced courses. For example, at TASIS England, using mathematics as an example, in the AP area, we have AP Calculus AB, AP Calculus BC, which would be the highest level of mathematics and calculus you can go in the advanced placement program. But then we offer 2 levels of mathematics above that that are much more in the university level of mathematics. So our students can then really personalize their experience. So part of it is looking at the school, what is their academic program, and will I be able to thrive there? But the other half of that equation is the student themselves. And do they have the determination and the willingness to, or the motivation to work hard and to be a good student and study? Part of the process when you're really thinking about going off to study abroad and looking at, and the next step after you study abroad and going to the universities is starting to think about the future and laying out some of the things that you're hoping for, or some of your goals. Now, a lot of times families begin to think that university planning might be stressful, and it doesn't have to be. I know that it can, for some families, can become stressful, but with some planning and with key partnerships with the school, it does not have to be stressful at all. It can really be a good process that the student really is learning from and helps them to become much more mature, because they're beginning to think about themselves and their future, and they begin to take ownership over their own experience. It really then becomes important that we partner with the school, partners with the student as well as the parents. It's almost like a pyramid where each point is important to make sure that we're all involved together. So the parents need to be involved as much as they can be. The student really needs to take ownership of the process, and the school then needs to also provide all the resources and the support that they can to help the student then thrive and be successful. It's very important when you're thinking about your own future as a student, or as you're talking about your future with your family, that you really find your own path. It's great that you might have friends that are going to different universities, but make sure that you find the future that's the best for you. Which university would it be? What country might it be in? What program would it be? Really is dependent upon you as an individual. So really think about that and who you are as a person, and find out what is going to be the best options for you. So try not to worry too much about what other people are doing, and really focus on what's the best for you, and where do you think you're going to thrive, be successful, and most importantly, be happy. Now, with university counseling, it's really important that you find the right fit for your personal journey. Some students will think that they need to go to a certain university because that's where their parents went to that university, or that's where their friends are going to that university, or it might have a better reputation. What's really important is that you find the university that's going to be a fit for you rather than what you think other people think you should do. Because once again, it's your life and it's your future. So make sure that that future is fit for who you are as an individual. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about each grade and what you can do when you're planning to make sure that you are prepared as best you can. And this is by no means a comprehensive list of suggestions or recommendations, but it's at least a few things to think about every year as you go through your high school career. But once again, make sure that you are also talking all the time with your college counseling office, because they would be the ones that would be able to help tailor the process to you and to your own strengths and interests and passions. So first, when you're in grade 9 and you're starting your high school career, it'd be very important for you to speak to your academic advisor and really create a flexible 4-year academic plan. Typically what that means is usually what you'll do is you'll start with something like this, and you would say, okay, what would I want to take if I'm here in 9th grade? What are the classes I want to take in 12th grade? Maybe I want to in math take an advanced mathematics, like an AP calculus class, or I want to do higher level math in the IB program. Or maybe I'm really into art and I really want to do something like an independent art project or a course like that. So what you do is you think at the end and then you work your way back. So for example, if I want to take this advanced math course, then that means I have to be in this second level math the year prior so that I'm eligible to get into it. So that helps you then plan out your 11th grade year, which then helps you determine what your 10th grade classes would be. So hopefully when you're done, you would have an idea of every year some of the courses that you'd be working towards. But what you might find out is, actually, I was really thinking I was going to go into science, but I realized that it's not really my passion and I'm more into, maybe it's history, or I'm more into mathematics. And so make sure that it's a flexible plan, and that you're not so rigid in your planning that you can't adjust if circumstances change. So it's really good to daydream about the future, what's most important, or what are the things that you really think are what you're interested in doing. And also make sure that you factor in graduation requirements, because every school says you have to take a certain number of years of English and a certain number of years of math. So make sure that you fulfill all of those graduation requirements, because you don't want to be in a position where you're going into grade 12 and you find out that you have to take another class for graduation, and that prevents you from taking a course that you wanted to all along. But once again, as you plan this out, look at your course offerings at your school to find out, are there some interesting elective courses that are there that will allow me to pursue some of my interests or pursue some of my passions. So going back, once again, look at your 4-year academic plan and create this flexible 4-year plan. Consider your prerequisites. So if there's a certain course you have to take this year to then be eligible to take another course the following year, make sure you do that, and make sure that your grades are at a level that would allow you in there as well. For example, at our school, for you to enter into an AP course or into the IB program, you have to have an average of a B+. Next, you really should be looking at your academic opportunities and make the most of it. What you want to do is find a balance between pursuing your passions, but make sure that you're also taking enough courses that you are showing universities that you can handle a more challenging or more rigorous course load. So what you don't want to do is take 2 or 3 very hard classes and then take extremely easy courses around for the rest of your program. What you might want to do is really think about, how can I find a balance here so that I'm showing universities that I can maintain a balanced and challenging program. In your 9th grade year, you'll also want to really think about talking to your college counseling office. Every college counseling office will be spending the majority of their time with their grade 12 students and their grade 11 students, obviously, because those are the students closest to applying to and going off to university. But a lot of them still have enough time to have some conversations with students in grades 9 and 10. So make sure you get to know them, see if you have any questions that you might want to talk to them. And a lot of times college counseling offices will provide some sessions for younger grades just to have them start to get used to it. At our school, we actually have college counseling sessions for grades 9 and 10, 3 to 5 times a semester. So by the end of grade 10, you would have had 20 to 25 meetings with college counseling. And that really is a great way for you to build that solid foundation for when you do move into grade 11. You'll have a better idea of what kind of program you want to go to, what kind of university would be a better fit for you, what questions you'll want to ask university officers when they come to visit campus, things like that. So I always encourage you to attend as many college counseling sessions as possible. Also, at a lot of a lot of schools, universities will come to campus to visit, or nowadays they might be doing virtual visits. Attend as many of those as you're able to fit into your schedule as well, because that helps you get a better idea of what types of universities might be a better fit for you. You might realize you really want a large university, or you might realize a large university would be too overwhelming for you, and you'd rather have a small university that might be closer to the school that you're at currently, where it's more intimate, you get to know your teachers more, and you feel like you can contribute to the community more. Having those conversations with the universities early on will help you narrow down what would be the best fit for you. Next, get involved in as many co-curricular activities as you can, but once again, make sure there's a balance. You don't want to become overwhelmed in time management, and that way you then see your grades suffer or that you're too stressed out. But once again, it could be things like, are you interested in the arts or theater? Is there a particular sport that you really enjoy? Make sure that you incorporate those things into your daily life so that you do show a balanced life. A third thing you can start, or another thing you can think about is, what are you going to do during your summer? Whether it's a job, doing some sort of a community service, starting some sort of a project that you might be able to do. A lot of students like to do STEM or robotics, anything that you can do, maybe even traveling abroad. If you think about it in terms of, I have these, these weeks or a few months every single year that I can use to show universities how I'm improving myself or I'm making myself a better candidate for that university. Think about it in those terms and say, what would a university like? Would they like it if I were doing community service or that I was able to have a job? A lot of times, if you just use the summer to have fun and maybe play video games, that may not be the best use of your time. So think about how you can use your summer to really either improve yourself or to show people how you're using that time to show others the talents that you have, whether it's going to a sports camp or things like that. Finally, in grade 9, it would be good to start to think about standardized testing. And that could be anything from, if you're planning on going to a US university, you might need to be taking the SAT, or you might need to think about taking the TOEFL, an English proficiency test. A lot of universities are moving away from standardized testing, or at least they're becoming test optional. But it would be good for you to know what these tests are, what is covered in those tests, how long they are, how you might be able to study for them, and if some of the universities you're interested in might be asking for them. So it's just a good idea to start that research in grade 9 so you're more familiar and you have a better idea of what it is. So if you do need to take those tests, you have time to start to prepare and study for them. As you move into grade 10, this is really the time to start to explore what options you have academically. So depending on your school, you may have the advanced placement courses, you may have the international baccalaureate, you may have, if you're in the British system, GCSEs and A levels, or you might be in another educational system, whether it's the Turkish system, the French system, so on and so forth. So really look at what is available to you. And as you're getting into the next year, you're going to start looking at your final 2 years as a way to make sure that you're in the classes you want to make sure that you're in. So if whether those are AP or IB, think about them, research and say, okay, do I want to do the AP program or do I want to do the IB? What's the difference? Where would I be a better fit? That's 10th grade is the year to make those decisions. So that way, when you're moving into grade 11, you're comfortable, you're confident, and you know that you're in the program that's the best fit for you. Starting your 10th grade year is a wonderful time to revisit your 4-year academic plan, revise and adjust it. Do you want to adjust a few courses? Do you want to add on an AP course, or do you want to switch over to the IB? Whatever it is, every few months you want to look at your 4-year academic plan and see if there's any changes you want to make to it. If you are going to go to the US, or at least if US universities are on your list of possible places to go, start looking at potential standardized testing, whether it's the ACT, the PSAT, or the SAT. Those tests, once again, a lot of universities are making them test optional, but not all of them. And so it's a good idea to start looking at them. And if you do need to take those tests, start doing some study, take some study books out and really look at what would be necessary. Or, for example, the TOEFL if you need to do an English proficiency test. Grade 10 is really the time to invest in your academic, your co-curricular, like your arts and your sports and your clubs, as well as your volunteering pursuits. Universities now are really looking for well-rounded students and for students with personal excellence who are going to contribute to the world in some way. So a lot of times what you'll find, especially at elite universities, I know at least in the United States, a lot of universities in the Ivy League or a university like Stanford, if they had to choose between a student who had all A's and a student who had A's and maybe some B pluses, but also had was involved in other sports, was involved in theater, and was doing some community service versus the student who only did academics and nothing else. They would always choose the more well-rounded student that may have had lower grades, but had a more well-rounded and fulfilling experience. So make sure that when you're going for your academic plans, that you find that balance, but find that mix of your academics, volunteering, co-curricular clubs, sports, activities, everything in there so that you can show that you are this well-rounded person. And as much as you're able to, find a passion that you have that's going to connect you to the community or to the world. It might be a passion with cultures and languages, and then you're going to go out and maybe do some travel or do some volunteer where you're helping people learn English. Maybe your passion is in the sports, or your passion might be in community service. A passion might be in the environment and really looking at how you can improve the environment. Whatever it happens to be, try to do your best in finding something that's important to you and make that a piece of your life in a way that you're contributing to your community, contributing to the world in a way that is something that you can talk about to a university. So it's not just becoming president of the French club, but if your passion is like France and the French culture, then do something that really is more than just, in a way, ticking a box. You want to show that, demonstrate that you're really taking this seriously and it's a passion for you. Starting in grade 10, you might want to start thinking about visiting colleges. So if your family's going on vacation, look at that area and say, okay, there's a university in that area that I'm thinking of potentially going to or applying to. Can we at least take an afternoon and go visit the campus? So think about that when you are traveling to start to visit campuses and see what those schools are like, and if you could imagine yourself being there. Look around, whether it's your school or some other schools in your community. A lot of times they're going to host university fairs, and they will bring in universities from all over the world into their gymnasium or into some sort of a location. And it's very good for you to start to go to those events and talk to many different universities, go from table to table, start asking questions and get a better sense of what type of university would be a good fit for you. Become familiar with your university counseling website at your school. A lot of schools in their college counseling offices will provide you with software and other resources that will help you in your planning purposes to get to the right university. So start using those as much as possible because they're a great resource and a great help. Another thing you can do in grade 10 is start to participate in various surveys to better understand your interests and strengths. Once again, this is something that we do at our school. We do the Moresby career survey. And it's a survey that you complete, and it helps you better understand what you might want to do for a career. Some students realize at the end of this that they really are into, they want to become a teacher, or they want to become a scientist, a research scientist. Someone else really loves to do something like working with people, and their careers could be more in sales and marketing. But a lot of those surveys, if you do them early enough, like in grade 10, it will help you then say, okay, if this survey is telling me that I have an interest in this area, let me take a couple of courses that might help me get a better sense of if I do like it. Like if it says I might be interested in business and marketing, maybe I should take an economics or a business course or a marketing course at my school and see if I really do like it. If not, then maybe I need to adjust some things and move some things around in my schedule. Another thing you can do in grade 10 is to attend career speaker series. We do this a lot as well. We have professional actors and actresses. We have CEOs of multinational companies come and speak to our students and talk about their career and what they've done. We had one speaker who came, and she actually was from the United States. I think she worked for the FBI, but she kind of worked with Interpol and other agencies in Europe. And it was a multinational organization, I guess, cooperation to go after human traffickers and drug traffickers. So she was in the criminal justice system. And a lot of students wanted to find out, what did you study in university to get that type of a job? What was your first job like? And and it's great if you're interested in becoming someone in business, to really talk to someone who is a CEO of a multinational company to get a better feel of what might be the path that you'd want to take as well. This is an example of some of the planning software that you might have, where you can start to look at some of the activities and tasks, whether it's this is a university that's coming to campus, make sure that you have it there. Start looking at the common application, go to the university fair so you can start to put together your plan. It tracks your GPA, it tracks what your SAT and PSAT scores are. It will also show you how many colleges or universities you're applying to, how many documents you've sent off. So really look at your school and find out what software they use and make sure that you take advantage of that software, because it really helps you organize yourself, and it helps you make sure that you're taking care of all the things that you need, so that when you do apply to a university, you've given them everything. You don't want to be in a position where you've missed the deadline because you thought you had everything submitted, but you forgot or you missed the one key document that the university didn't receive, and so they considered your application incomplete. So the planning software that your school provides is really a huge resource, and make sure you take advantage of that as much as possible. Here's another example of another piece of software, or even something that you could put together in Excel, where you have information. You've got your course schedule down here. You could put in your grades. You can start to calculate your GPA. You have your logins for some of, whether it's your Common App or anything else, but it starts to organize your information and make sure that you're not missing anything. As you now move into grade 11, this is the time to really start to look at specific universities and build a list of universities that you might be interested in applying to. Start to know their admission requirements by country and by university and program. So some universities will say, if you're coming in the British system, then we expect you to take these classes or these courses and have these scores. If you're in the IB, we expect you to have these in your higher level courses and to have this kind of a score. If you're in the AP, we expect you to have these courses and this score. So they start to list whichever path you're on, what you need to do to become eligible to apply to that university. Also, once again, look at your standardized tests if you need to do that. What kind of an essay are you going to write? Some universities ask for an essay. And also start to look at who you might want to ask to write a letter of recommendation for you. Which teachers are really the ones that were going to be your best advocate. But remember, some universities are going to tell you who they want. They may say, we want a math teacher recommendation, or we wanted a recommendation from your art teacher if you're going into an art program. So be flexible in your thinking, but make sure that you have a few that you are ready to ask. Also, look at your curriculum, whether it's your IB predicted scores or anything else, and get a better sense of, am I even eligible to apply for this university, or is their minimum requirements going to be higher than what my grades are at right now? There are some schools that they're going to ask for a portfolio, so you have to start to build out. For example, art would be a classic example. Do you have enough of your art material together that you can show them the work that you have done over the years and the growth that you've made? Start looking and building a list of your ideal university. What do you want? How large do you want it to be? Where do you want it located? Do you want it located in Europe? Do you want it in the UK, in the United States? Do you want it back in Turkey? What kind of programs are they looking, or do they offer? if you're really interested in film studies and you want to become a movie director, but they really don't have a very strong program in film, then you might want to think about a different university that has that. Also, what kind of culture? There are some schools, universities that are more research oriented, others that are much more teacher oriented. Usually research oriented universities, the professors themselves are going to be spending a lot of time doing their research and publishing work because that's what they need to do. And so some of your classes might not be taught by the professors. That might be taught by what they call a teacher's assistant or a TA or someone else. At other universities that are more teaching universities, the professor is in the classroom teaching the classes. So a lot of that will depend on the size of the university, what orientation it is, how academic it is, so on and so forth. Costs are a big important thing for a lot of families. Is it a school that you're actually able to afford as a family? And sometimes weather is a factor. Some students want cold weather, other students want to get into a place where it's nice and warm and sunny. All of those things can be a factor when you start to build out what type of university you want to go to. Make sure when you're in your meetings with your college counselors, every time you have a one-on-one meeting with your college counselor, make sure you attend it and make sure you take notes and that you pay attention and do everything you can to get the most out of those meetings. Next, it would be important to select and have conversations with your prospective teachers who might be writing your letters of recommendation. It's important that the first time you have a conversation with the teacher is not when you're asking them for a letter of recommendation. It's much better to have conversations with the teachers, get to know them, and have them get to know who you are. So later on, when you do say, hey, would you be willing to write a letter of recommendation for me? They'd be, absolutely. I know you. I know the work that you're doing. I'd be more than happy to write a letter of recommendation. It's good to start to work on your college essay. Think about what you would write about for yourself that would help a university better understand who you are as a person and as a student. There are a lot of online resources that can help you with that as well. So if you're interested, you can start to do some online research about writing college essays. Once again, plan your summer. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to take advantage of that time to better yourself and to show universities that you're doing things to improve who you are as an individual or to pursue your passions. Once again, try to visit universities every chance you get. And then in grade 11, it's a great time to start to think about other options. Sometimes it might be better for you to wait a year and do a gap year. So instead of going straight from high school into university, maybe you take a year off and you go do a program, you do an internship, you study or travel in more informal way. Maybe going to a school and doing a postgraduate year before you go to university would be the best option. Think about those ideas because that will give you more options available to you rather than just the straight high school university. That would be a great option for many, but it may not be the best option for all. So when you consider the requirements for undergraduate programs, especially in grade 11, these are some of the things you might be thinking about. So if you're saying, I'm interested in engineering, then some of the courses you need to be taking in high school would be courses around physics and chemistry or higher level math analysis if you're in the IB program. Some of the things you might be thinking then is, notes would be taken, like if you're in higher level math, it would be preferred in each of those areas, especially if you're applying to UK universities or selective US universities. Maybe you're interested in medicine or pharmacy, then these are the types of courses you're going to want to do and some of the notes related to that. If you're more into business and administration or economics, then you're going to want to do early research for each university you're applying to because it could be very specific to that program. But it would be, a lot of times, economics might be helpful, but not necessarily required. Usually some sort of math analysis would be necessary or math application because a lot of times business has a lot of analysis, especially statistical analysis. So there's a lot of things that you can do to start to prepare yourself. As you now move into grade 12, your last year in high school, this is when you want to start making some final decisions. And as a student, it's important for you to really look at what would be best for you as an individual. So decide which pathway is best for you after graduation. Finalize the list of universities you plan to apply to. If you're applying to US universities, make decisions about whether you're going to do early decision, early action, rolling, and make sure you look at all priority deadlines so that you meet all the required deadlines. Create a list of those deadlines for every university and any essay questions that you need to write for every university, and make sure you have that in your software so you can keep on top of it. Complete your essays, whether the summer before or that autumn of your senior year, and make sure all of your university applications are complete, usually by for early action and early decisions sometime in the autumn, and then if otherwise a little bit later in the year. Make sure you've talked to all of your teachers or your supplemental recommenders or any other referees that you may have, whether it's a coach or a music teacher or something like that, and provide them with the list of schools and the deadlines, and constantly follow up with them to make sure that they've submitted their references on time. If you have applied early decision, prepare your applications for other universities in case you don't get into your early decision university, and make sure that your regular decision university applications are ready to go so you can submit them when necessary. And finally, make sure you research and apply for any scholarships or financial aid that's necessary. Finally, make sure that you spend the time in your high school career to finish strong. Don't lose sight of your objectives, and make sure that you don't slack off at the end of your 12th grade year. But at the same time, make sure that you have fun. This shouldn't be a time of your life where you're constantly just working and not having fun. This is an opportunity for you to really enjoy your high school career, discover who you are, what your passions are, who your friends are, and all of those things are going to help you then become a better student when you go to university. So make sure that you do have fun, make sure that you enjoy your time in high school, and move on from there. A really quick overview about TASIS England is we do have our 4-year program, as I said, and on average, 40% of our graduates go to US universities, 40% will go to UK universities, and then 20% of our graduates will go to other universities around the world. The class of 2021 was a little bit different. It might have been partly because of the higher vaccination rate in the UK. It might also have been because of Brexit, where some students were able to still come in at a different tuition level, but we had a higher rate of students come to UK universities in 2021. But generally, it's 40-40-20 is the split. If we were to look at the Times Higher Education World Rankings, what we'd find is that the top 100 universities, ranked universities in the world, we looked at those and we said, how many of those universities have a TASIS England graduate currently attending that university? It turns out we have over 50 of the top 100 universities have a TASIS England graduate. So there's a great list of universities in the United States, West Coast, Midwest, East Coast, including the Ivy League universities. Great list of universities in the UK, including the Russell Group, as well as Oxbridge. And then there's also a good list of universities here around the world, some wonderful universities in Canada, Europe, as well as Asia. Now, this is only a list of universities of about a fourth of our graduates. So we still have graduates attending about 150 other universities beyond this. But this is at least a good indication of the types of universities our students go to. And it's a great way for students to really think about what might be possible for them. I hope that was helpful. And I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to put them in the chat. Okay. So I have one question. How can I study at the school? What I will do is I'm actually going to put in the chat a quick link to our inquiry form. And I'll kind of walk you through the process really quick, if that's okay. But let me make sure I get the right link first. Okay, here we go. So I'll put this in the chat. And hopefully you can see it. If you click on that link, it will take you to our inquiry form. So if you go to our website, tasisengland.org, under the admissions section, there's a part that says apply now. And you click on that little link and it will take you to this inquiry form where you fill out some information. When you hit submit, your parent will receive an email with a username and a password. When they log into that account, it will give them access to their own personal online application. And then you can start to upload transcripts from your school. You can upload other documents. You can fill out online forms, and you can even have teachers submit online teacher recommendations. To apply to our school, we really ask for an application which asks information about you as a student, and part of it you complete as a student and part of it your parents complete. We ask for teacher recommendations, one from an English teacher, one from a math teacher, and one from your head of school or a counselor. We ask for your transcripts or your school records from this year, last year, and the year prior, so 3 years of transcripts. We would do an online or a Zoom interview if you're not able to come to campus and visit. And we ask for a few other small pieces like a scan of your passport and a scan of your birth certificate and things like that. But that's really kind of the main core of the application would be that. At our school, we have an admission committee made up of administrators and faculty members that review the applications, and then they would make decisions. And we are on a rolling admission decision process. So students started applying for the 2022-23 academic year back in September. And we've been making admission decisions all the way through. So the earlier you start the application, the better, because at some point in time we will be filling and will be full in certain grades or certain spaces. So, but it's always worth at least reaching out to us and ask us if there's any space. Are there other questions? There's a question I'm not sure I understand. Could you, it says if you select me when I go there, could you rephrase that? I'm not sure I understand the question. So I have a person that asked about sports activities and what we have available. Certainly happy to show you that as well. I'm going to share my screen one more time. And this time I'm going to go. And I'm going to show you both. We have a fantastic art program. So we have theater, painting and drawing, sculpture, ceramics, filmmaking, if students want to go and make movies, photography, singing and choir, as well as our orchestra and band, jazz band, things like that. On the sports side, we belong to a few different athletic associations. And so depending on the sport and the season, students would be competing against either British schools or other American or international schools. We have 3 seasons: fall, winter, and spring. We have competitive sports and recreational sports that are not competitive. And within each competitive season, you have what we call junior varsity or JV and varsity. Junior varsity would be students who may not have played the sport before, and they're learning the sport, developing their skills. And then varsity would be for students who are at a more advanced level, and they're able to then play at a higher level. And we have both boy and girl teams. So for example, in the fall, we have soccer, volleyball, and cross country for both boys and girls. In the winter, we have basketball, rugby, cheerleading, lacrosse, and swimming. And then in the spring, we have softball, baseball, tennis, and golf. Recreationally, we offer a lot of the same sports, but it may be in a different season where it's not competitive and the students can use it to train and build up their skills or just do it for fun. And we also offer other additional recreational sports, like conditioning would be things like lifting weights, working out in the gym, or maybe doing CrossFit. Our equestrian program, students would then go to the stables, which is near our campus, about a 15-20 minute drive, that we take them there, and then they do their riding their horses. We have sailing. We even have fencing. I know that's not listed here. And another option would be students might want to do an activity rather than a sport. And so we've got things like gardening or martial arts, doing Model UN, or doing the theater. So students would be doing something every season during the week. I should also mention that TASIS England does have 60 nationalities on our campus. So we're a very internationally diverse population. And that's not just our boarding population. 80 to 90% of our day families are expats. And so that means that their parents, they might be coming from Istanbul or from Singapore or from Sao Paulo or from New York. And their company says, we're moving you to the London office for the next 10 years. And so their family moves and their children come to our school while they're living in England. So our day population is just as internationally diverse as our boarding population. So I hope that gives you a little good view of about that. So one person asked about English and if their English isn't as strong as they would like it to be. We do offer English as an additional language. And so part of the application, and I'm glad you asked this question, part of the application is if English is not your first language, we would send you a link to an online English placement test. So we have a better idea of what your English level is. And that would help us determine if when you come here as a student, if you're in mainstream courses without any English support, or if you need English as an additional language courses to help improve your language. So we do have those available for you where you would be improving your language. And as your English improves, you would then move more into those mainstream courses. And it is possible where your English may not be strong enough to go into the advanced placement or IB program, but you would still be able to go through our American diploma program and continue on and receive the diploma without taking some of those courses and continue to work on improving your English skills. Great question. So asking about financial aid and scholarships, we basically offer two opportunities. The first one is what we call financial assistance. And this is where your parents would complete forms, filling out their financial information. They would provide financial documentation. And what we do is we analyze the information and we find out, okay, this is how much the family can afford, but this is how much the tuition is. So then we would try to provide an award that they don't have to pay back. It's free money that would then help cover the difference. We try to help as much as we can, but we can't promise to meet everyone's need. Typically, the awards average between 5 to 25% of the full tuition. The other option would be merit scholarships. And in the merit scholarship, we offer the opportunity for students who are excelling in academics and maybe something else. Maybe it's academics in sports, academics in the arts, academics in leadership, academics and community service. And those students, what they would do is express an interest in our community, a global community scholarship. And we'd ask them to fill out some information, and then we would be looking at all the candidates and then trying to select as many as we're able to with the resources that we have. Once again, those awards would range between 5 to 25% of the tuition itself. And if you're interested in either the financial assistance or the scholarship, you can go onto our website under the admissions section, and there's a section that talks about financial aid and scholarships. And there's an email there. You would just send an email to that address saying, I'm interested in this. Please send me either the application form or more information, and we would send it to you there. I do want to point out that once this presentation is over, I will be in my booth, and I'm more than happy to talk to you in more detail. I have meetings scheduled from the last 2 hours of the fair today, and I have a couple meetings scheduled for tomorrow, but I do have some openings if you wanted to schedule a meeting with me as well. If we're talking about what level English speaking level you would need to enter, it really depends on what your goals are. We can take students who might need more support, English level support. They just wouldn't be able to go into our more advanced courses. Excuse me. But they can still take courses and get a high school diploma with us. So if your English level is not as strong, you would go into what we call our international section and still be able to take courses here. If your English is a little bit stronger, then you might be able to take more advanced courses, maybe take an AP course or go into our IB. It just depends on where you're at as to what program we'd put you into. So what we do is I would encourage you, if you're interested in coming to TASIS England, I also should mention that we have a summer program. In fact, I'm going to share my screen one more time. And this might be interesting for some students as well. So we do have a summer program that we'll be offering this summer 2022 on our campus. Students would take one main course and one elective course. So your main course could be something like learning English or taking a math course, or it could be like taking an architecture and 3D design, fashion and textile design, doing an entrepreneurship course or a leadership academy. A very popular class for us is London Through a Lens, which is a great a photography course in London. Or it may be doing a STEM class or really learning about technology or doing a TV production course. So that would be a main part of your day, would be doing your main course, but then you'd also take one elective course, and that could be anything from graphic design to music production to robotics. And that would fill up the rest of your day, including lunch. Then after your classes are over, you'd have after school sports and activities, then you'd have dinner, and then you'd have evening activities. And then there'd be a whole host of weekend activities that you do, going into London, going to visit castles, going to Stonehenge, lots of great things. Each session is 3 weeks long, so late June to mid-July to early August, and it would be for ages 11 to 17. So you can also consider coming here for summer as well, and it's a great program for some students to do that, and they might be able to improve their English or just take a class that's really fun for them. So let me stop sharing here. So if you were to apply, the one option would be to come for summer, and that would be late June or mid-July. And then the other option would be to come for our academic year, and our academic year starts in late August. And then we go for the entire year, and typically our school year ends in early June. Once again, if you still have more questions or if you'd like to speak with me more, I will be at my booth shortly, and I would be more than happy to talk with you as well. But I thank you so much for everything, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.